Hi guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Today we are talking about food waste and how we can reduce it. So I'm going to jump right in and share some of my favorite tips for doing that because it will save us money on groceries, and who doesn't want to save money on groceries, right? So jumping right in, tip number 1 is to date your leftovers. So we use Pyrex containers, so we just use a regular Sharpie marker, and you can see where there's remnants of it being written on before. But what I'll do is take that little metal scrubby that we use for our cast iron, and I'll just scrub that off. And then you just write the date right on the side. And then when you put it in the fridge, it's right there for everybody to see, so you don't have to try to remember which day you had that food on. You can just say, oh, it's been 3 days, it's still good, let's eat it, or yikes, it's been 7 days, we need to throw that away. Tip number 2 is to label plates and just keep the plate with the half-eaten food on it right in the fridge to pull out again. So I try with my little guys to not give them big portions. I try to give them a little bit at a time so that they don't waste it. But like last night we had nachos and I didn't feel like refilling plates, so I just gave everybody quite a big portion. And we had 3 kids that were full and they had some left. And so we just put a little bit of plastic wrap over top of it. We labeled it again with permanent marker. And then I pulled those plates back out at lunch today, along with the big container of the rest of the leftover nachos. And then we were able to serve that at lunch, which also saved on dishes. So that was kind of nice. They just used the plate they had before, but they also ate up that food that otherwise would have gotten scraped into the compost. Okay, tip number 3 is to build those leftovers right into your menu plan. And you can do this in a couple different ways. On our menu plan, we have a day where we just put leftovers for lunch. And on that day, we pull out whatever is in the fridge from the last few days and we serve that for lunch. And then of course I'll have things on hand just to make a quick lunch to fill in if there's not enough leftovers to go around. But that way it's right there on the plan that we're gonna get that fridge cleaned out that day. And the other way that I build leftovers into the menu plan is if we typically have something that I know usually leaves us with leftovers, I will just put that something right on the menu plan. And so on Mondays, as I've shared before, we always have pasta, either spaghetti or Alfredo, for supper. And so when I make spaghetti, I make a lot because you just never know who's going to be hungry, who's not. I don't want to be running out. And it's also nice if somebody stops in that we can just know there's enough in the pot to serve whoever's here. And so we often will have a lot of spaghetti noodles left over, but we don't often have enough sauce to go with it. And so what usually happens is my husband takes some of the noodles with the leftover sauce in his lunch the next day, and it leaves us with a lot of plain spaghetti noodles in the fridge. And so I've written it right in on our menu plan that on Wednesdays for lunch we have noodles and veggies. And so I'll pull those plain noodles out, I'll put butter and Parmesan cheese on them, whatever the kids want, and then I'll serve them with either a canned or a frozen vegetable on the side. So it just is built right in there. It's really helped because I used to throw away a container of spaghetti noodles almost every weekend. I would look up and say, shoot, we didn't eat those. You know, they were plain, they weren't super appetizing. So build those leftovers right into your menu plan. Okay, for tip number 4, that is to serve a snack smorgasbord. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So here in our cabinet where we keep our snacks, I keep this basket, and this is where I put anything that is an open package. And so we will end up with all sorts of things in here. These are pistachios, we have bags of craisins, have some of the baby's little finger foods, jar with some leftover cereal. There is some leftover Easter candy down in the bottom here. And so when we get to the point where it's getting pretty full like this, I'll just take this out at snack time and sit it on the table and say, you know, have whatever you want. And they eat up all of these little bits that are left in the bags that aren't enough to just pull out on their own and serve. So it's really nice to have it all in a basket like this. It makes it a lot easier to use it up. Okay, tip number 5 is going to sound a little bit weird, but stick with me, okay? If you have a baby or really little kids in the house that are dropping food on the floor, my suggestion is to clean the floor first before you serve them. So that way, if they drop big pieces of food, you can just pick it up and you don't have to worry. Like in our house, we have a dog and we have, a lot of kids with bare feet outside that come and run through the house. So if I just take a second and just wipe the floor quickly before I put the baby in his high chair, and then when he is dropping his food, I don't have to worry if I pick it up and give it back to him. And it saves a lot of food that way. A lot. I didn't realize how much until our dog quit eating table scraps, and then I noticed that there was quite a bit of food I was sweeping up and throwing away. And so now I just take the bigger pieces and give them back to him. So like right now he is eating and he is dropping his food. And since I've cleaned the floor right there, I can go ahead and pick up pieces. Like they're getting pretty small now, but if he drops a big chunk of banana, I don't have to worry about it. I just pick it up. And poor Sophie is getting stuffed on there. But I pick it up and I give it back to him. And that saves a lot. And I would do that before, but in our house with dogs and kids and everybody running around, it's a lot better if you just take a minute and clean the floor first. Huh. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope I gave you some suggestions that you maybe hadn't thought of yet. And if you have a tip or a trick for saving on food waste, please let me know. You can comment here wherever you're seeing this, or you can private message me. We've also been trying to do hashtag less food waste 2018, so if you want to share a tip or trick that way, I'll make sure your post gets copied and shared. As always, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as Married to the Farm. Thanks for stopping by.